Texas is ecologically very diverse.
It encompasses arroyos and beautiful geology and the Franklin Mountains.
We're home to numerous species of birds and marine life that are important not only for the ecosystem but also for our local economy.
There's a lot of diversity in our grasslands as well. There are grasslands in East Texas in the piney woods, the pocket prairies, and there are grasslands in the Trans-Pecos in the Davis Mountains.
The desert is so diverse, so amazing, and we're learning about it all the time.
If you see the landscape, it's tough and it's rough, right? But it's also beautiful once you get to know it and you see it. And this is who we are as people.
From the sweeping prairies and grasslands of the Gulf Coast, to vast mountains and deserts of the Trans-Pecos, to the enchanting rivers of the hill country, the open spaces of Texas are so much of what makes our state an amazing place to live, work, and call home. As more folks from across the country make their way here, we see the added pressures on development, pollution, and water. But we don't have to sacrifice what makes Texas special. The choices we make can keep our communities healthy while having global impact. We can protect and conserve these lands forever, because that's the power of a land trust.
As people move here and all this change is happening, most people don't recognize that there's little to buffer all of that change. There's very little regulation on the landscape, and most of this land is privately owned. So we partner with private landowners to keep that land intact. We provide incentives, options, alternatives to help them to keep the land healthy and to manage it in a way that promotes clean water, promotes habitat for all of us, promotes these scenic views being preserved along the hilltops, and keeps it exactly the way that we all want it.
And we consulted with our two children before we entered the whole process of applying for a conservation easement, and both of them were very much in favor of it. So there's 1,600 acres here, which is a pretty good chunk of land to have set aside in perpetuity to be free of rooftops and to be available for wildlife and other conservation.
We need to continue to support working lands. Otherwise, it won't work. What can I do with this land? I don't want to see it broken up. I don't want to see it sold. I don't want to see my life's work just fall apart. And I think to me, that would be the home run. That would be the biggest success story, just for my grandchildren and great-grandchildren to recognize how important this property is. And it's sustainable, and it's going to stay this way in perpetuity.
I think one of the great things about our state is that it's privately held, and so there is potential to protect more land with conservation easements.
By protecting clean water, providing access to fresh local food, and preserving open space for future generations, Texas land trusts, big and small, improve our quality of life and the health of our communities.
We have 250,000 acres under easement. Those 250,000 acres are actually providing over 180,000 acre feet of water per year. That's enough water to provide drinking water to the town of San Antonio, the 7th largest city in the U.S., for over 200 years. Right? That's land stewardship. That's public benefit when we talk about the water conserving, and that's just one ecosystem service.
Water is a draw for all kinds of reasons. So we work with people who, are fishermen, are sailors, bird watchers, kayakers. There's a big draw. And our biggest natural resource in the Houston area is Galveston Bay.
What's happening in Eastside San Antonio happens, in other regions all around the nation in their major cities. What we're able to do is empower people to become self-sufficient and increase access to fresh fruits and vegetables.
Really, what community gardens can do, more than a question of sustainability and providing urban green spaces, it's a question of empowerment and help their neighbors and just foster this sense of kindness and mutual trust.
One of our pillars of our mission is to educate Texans about the beauty and benefit of native prairies. And what better to get the youth of Texas to learn to love the value of prairies by experiencing them with their parents, with their grandparents, and so that they can become the next generation of Texas conservationists.
Truly, if we educate our youth they're going to learn and they're going to speak up and they're going to conserve. So here's where we advocate, for our kids and they're learning as they continue to get older and grow up. They're going to be the ones taking care of us and the earth.
Land trusts permanently conserve the lands we need and love, ensuring they'll be here for today and tomorrow. It's a future that's ours to choose. We can all have better lives, stronger communities, and a healthier planet by making sure that our beautiful open spaces of Texas stay beautiful and open.
Sometimes I hear people say we need to choose between the economy and the environment. That's a false choice. That's a false argument. We've proven time and time again that by supporting the creation of strong economic value, that results in environmental protection.
Texas is a huge state. It's a lot of work to try to protect all the land in all the different regions. So I think we have a great team of land trusts here in Texas that are working locally, regionally, and statewide. It's a mosaic of conservation. We're all working on our own regions, our own mission focus areas, but we're all working together to protect the same land towards that same larger mission and larger goal.
We will never look back and regret how much green space and trail we have preserved. So just think how much more we can do as people move here and volunteer and get excited to do good and give back to their community.
All of those people that had huge successes were not some rich millionaire, not some famous person from any walk of life. This was everyday people, just regular people, came together and preserved this land.
It's important that people get involved, that they have a voice, that it may not be their backyard, but it is their community.
Land conservation is public health. Land conservation does create economic sustainability. Land conservation creates cultural opportunities. Land conservation brings communities together and builds bridges instead of divides. Part of this conversation is not to educate, but to engage. Being part of this conversation is what's going to move us forward, is what's going to engage more people into wanting to preserve and conserve the land that we are currently on.
Saving land, strengthening communities, and creating a healthier planet. That's the power of a land trust.